Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling something pretty common, that tightrope walk between demanding schedules and, well, just living life.
Right. Whether it's intense study, a new job, or just juggling everything, that feeling of being totally wiped out.
Exactly. Brainful. We've all been there. So our goal today, for you, the learner, is to pull out some really practical, usable strategies.
Strategies to handle academic burnout, maybe figure out study schedules that actually work.
We've looked at quite a few sources, insights from RIT on avoiding burnout.
And the Civil Engineering Academy, they have a really detailed take on study plans.
Plus experiences from the Student Doctor Network on exam prep, and then a whole lot on managing test anxiety and time.
Yeah, from places like Think Tank, School Mental Health Ontario, MCEC Parent Support.
We'll even touch on space repetition, which is fascinating, and some real-world advice from Reddit about pushing through when you feel burnt out.
So the mission really is to equip you with tools, practical tools from all these different places.
To make learning more effective and hopefully a bit less stressful. Let's dive in.
Sounds good. And it's interesting how, despite the different sources, some core ideas just keep coming up about learning effectively, but also about well-being.
It's not just theory. These are things you can actually do.
Concrete steps.
Okay, first things first. Academic burnout. What is it exactly? RIT has a clear definition.
Yeah, they describe it as that state of physical or emotional exhaustion.
Comes from being in a really demanding environment for a long time.
Exactly. Coursework, life, everything piling up. That sustained pressure, it really takes a toll.
And we need to know the signs. What should you look out for? RIT points out a few things.
Well, there's the obvious physical tiredness, like deep tiredness that sleep doesn't fix.
Difficulty focusing too. Zoning out.
Definitely. And that really frustrating feeling where you read something, but it just doesn't sink in.
Plus, maybe feeling negative about learning itself, losing that spark.
Precisely. And these aren't just off days. They're signals your system is really strained.
And the consequences. They're not trivial. RIT mentions quite a few.
Yeah, it can really hit your motivation, which then, affects your performance.
And it can feed into anxiety, even depression sometimes.
It can. Loss of interest, sleep problems, appetite changes. It's a whole cluster of issues.
So yeah, something to tackle proactively if we can.
Absolutely. Which brings us to the strategies RIT suggests to sort of head burnout off at the pass.
A lot seems to boil down to self-care, but targeted self-care for learning.
Right. Like first up, actually making time for enjoyable activities. Sounds basic, doesn't it?
Almost too basic, but carving out real time for a hobby, a movie, whatever, recharges you.
And being fully present in it. No multitasking, just recharge.
That's vital. RIT also talks about good nutrition, fueling the brain.
Makes sense. Your brain needs good fuel to work well. And exercise gets a mention too.
Always does, but for good reason. It helps with sleep, mood.
And focus too. That mental break, the blood flow, it all helps.
Here's one I liked. Positive self-talk. Actively reminding yourself you can do this.
Yeah, being your own cheerleader, essentially. Acknowledging what you have accomplished, not just focusing on the huge mountain ahead.
It's about countering that negative inner voice.
Totally. And then there are practical tools. To-do lists, good note-taking.
They're not just for organization, are they?
Yeah.
RIT says ticking things off actually gives you a little dopamine hit.
Right, that feeling of accomplishment. It fights the overwhelm. They also suggest tidying up your workspace. Less physical clutter, less mental clutter.
Simple, but effective. And setting small goals, achievable ones.
Yeah, not like master astrophysics today, but maybe finish chapter 3 or do 5 practice problems.
Yale's momentum creates that sense of progress.
Exactly. And maybe the most crucial one, talk to someone.
Don't bottle it up. A friend, family. RIT also mentions counseling services.
Just getting it out can make a huge difference. Perspective.
They also mention getting outside. Fresh air, sunlight, simple stuff.
Don't underestimate it. And meal prepping, too, saves time and stress later.
Very practical. And within study sessions themselves, breaks are key.
Absolutely. Let the information actually sink in. Don't just power through for hours.
And if you're stuck, feeling frustrated,
change your environment. Move to a different room, a library, a cafe. Sometimes that shift is all you need.
Okay, those are great for preventing burnout. But what about building a study schedule that works for you, not against you?
Right. The Civil Engineering Academy has this very structured 7-step approach. It's geared towards exams, but the principles apply broadly.
What really stands out is how much emphasis they put on planning before you even start studying.
Totally. Step 1 is understand the task, the exam, the learning goal, whatever it is.
Know the format, the question types, time limits, and crucially, the topics. What exactly do you need to know?
Any specifications or outlines are gold here. They're your map.
Step 2. Gather your resources, textbooks, notes, online materials.
Everything you need. Organized. And they stress using resources that actually explain things, not just like a reference handbook.
Makes sense. Step 3 is the reality check. Assess your current knowledge. Honestly.
Yeah, go through the topics. How confident are you? Where are the weak spots?
Because that's where you need to focus your extra time, right?
Exactly. Which leads to step 4. Identify the high-weight topics.
The big ones, the core concepts, the stuff that comes up most often.
Right. And the sweet spot for prioritizing is where high-weight topics overlap with your weak areas. That's where you really focus.
Okay, practical planning now. Step 5. Figure out how much prep time you actually need.
Realistically, based on the material, your knowledge gaps, your life schedule.
We mentioned 3 months or more for big exams, but that's adaptable.
Totally depends on the goal. Step 6 is deciding on your actual study time blocks.
Daily, weekly, what's feasible. And then this is key. Schedule it. Put it in the calendar.
Treat it like an appointment you can't miss. They suggest maybe 2 hours weekdays, 4 weekends, but find what works for you.
And finally, step 7. Build the schedule itself. Break it down.
Yep. Big topics into smaller chunks. Assign tasks to specific sessions. Maybe focus on subtopics each week.
They mentioned distributed practice, spacing it out. We'll come back to that.
Yeah.
And definitely include practice sessions.
Active application, not just reading. And be flexible, like happens. Adjust the schedule if you need to.
Good point. Maybe focus on lower weight topics during a busy week.
And their final tips are solid. Review old stuff regularly and use practice exams or simulations.
Get used to the real thing. Okay, so you've got a plan. You're trying to avoid burnout. But what about anxiety, test anxiety, performance anxiety? It could derail everything.
Oh, absolutely. But there are ways to manage it. Think Tank talks a lot about positive self-talk and thought stopping.
Right, developing those encouraging phrases you can use, like before you start, I can handle this.
Or during a tough patch. Okay, take a breath, one step at a time.
And afterwards, I did my best. Tailoring them to your own triggers is important.
Definitely. School Mental Health Ontario adds that, a little stress can be motivating. Adrenaline.
But too much just tanks your performance.
Exactly. So they have study strategies specifically aimed at reducing that anxiety, like truly understanding the material, not just memorizing.
Being prepared helps, obviously. Finding a quiet study space. Planning your time.
Using those effective habits, spaced repetition again, reviewing notes. Avoiding cramming?
Oh, cramming is the worst for anxiety.
Totally. And right before a test. They say avoid last-minute frantic studying.
And maybe steer clear of super stressed peers. Their anxiety can be contagious.
Good point. They even suggest writing down your worries beforehand, a brain dump to clear your head.
And during the test itself, simple things. Deep breaths.
Maybe telling yourself, I'm excited instead of I'm nervous, to reframe that energy.
I like that. And doing a quick info dump of formulas you memorized.
Yeah, get it down on paper. Scan the whole test first. Do easy questions first for confidence.
Don't get stuck on hard ones, mark them. Come back. Always try to put something down.
Right, and review if you have time. They even have tips for specific question types, multiple choice, essays.
And for online or take-home tests, too. Being organized, checking tech.
All good practical stuff. And after the test, crucial step.
Don't dwell on mistakes. Don't compare answers right away.
Exactly. Practice that positive self-talk again. Reflect on what worked, what didn't for next time.
And reward yourself. You earned it.
Definitely. Now, all of the scheduling, anxiety management hinges on good time management.
Which can feel impossible sometimes. MCEC Parent Support has some useful techniques.
Starting with just tracking your time. Where does it actually go? That awareness is step 1.
Then prioritization. What needs to get done first? Set goals daily, weekly.
Review those priorities regularly, and maybe tackle the hardest stuff when you have the most energy, often first thing.
They mentioned time blocking. Scheduling specific slots for specific tasks.
Yeah, like class 9-11, study block 1-1-3, gym 4-5, locking it in.
There's also the Kanban method, more visual, like a to-do list on steroids with columns for progress.
To do, doing, done. Very satisfying to move tasks across.
And the eat that frog idea. Do the worst task first.
Get it out of the way, then the rest of the day feels easier. They also have study-specific tips.
Find your peak productivity times. Set a goal for each study session. Stick to a routine.
Study in chunks, not marathons. And yeah, eat that frog first.
What about big projects?
Break them down, milestones, to-do lists with time estimates, leave buffer time for review.
They also tackle procrastination head-on. Different strategies depending on why you procrastinate.
Like if you're disorganized, set up a dedicated workspace. If you avoid tasks, break them down smaller. If you're overcommitted, learn to say no sometimes.
That's a tough one. And staying focused in this world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Minimize distractions, phone away. Avoid multitasking, it's usually less efficient. Schedule breaks, Pomodoro technique.
25 minutes on, 5 minutes off, repeat.
Reward your effort. And
Yeah.
keep the big picture in mind. Why are you learning this?
Good reminders. Now, we mentioned spaced repetition a few times. Let's unpack that a bit. Smarter You explains it well.
Right. It's basically reviewing information multiple times, but with bigger and bigger gaps between reviews.
Based on that forgetting curve, right? We forget stuff fast if we don't revisit it.
Exactly. But Smarter You makes an interesting point that initial forgetting actually helps clear out unimportant details.
So repetition reinforces what is important, moves it to long-term memory.
Precisely. And using different ways to recall the info, defining, explaining, matching, makes the memory stronger.
And the key is the spacing, not cramming. Those breaks are crucial.
Yeah, the effectiveness depends on how often you review, how long the gaps are, and how long it's been since the last review.
So closer reviews for new stuff, wider gaps as it gets more solid in your memory.
You got it. Each time you recall it successfully, it tells your brain, hey, this is important, and strengthens the connection.
Smarter You suggests things like microlearning fit well with this. Short, automated reviews.
Makes it easier to implement consistently.
Okay, last area. What if you are burnt out? Like really feeling it, but you just have to keep going. Deadlines, exams.
Yeah, that's tough. There was a Reddit thread discussing this, people sharing what worked for them.
Real-world advice. What came up?
Breaks were huge, even short ones. Naps, walks, just changing scenery for 10 minutes.
Okay, what else?
Many found that continuing, but at a slower pace, was better than stopping completely. Just lower expectations for output, maybe.
Gentle progress. Makes sense. Sleep came up a lot too, I bet.
Oh, absolutely. Prioritizing sleep seemed non-negotiable for most, and finding small pockets of relaxing activity.
Getting outside, mindful moments away from screens.
Yeah. The overall feeling was, when you're truly burnt out, pushing harder is often the wrong move. Rest, even small bits of it, is essential for getting through and being effective long-term.
Right. It's not weakness, it's strategy.
Exactly. So if we pull this all together, what are the big takeaways?
Well, first, preventing burnout is key. Self-care, making time for joy. That's foundational.
Then structuring your study time effectively, having a plan, knowing your goals, prioritizing.
Managing anxiety is huge. Positive self-talk, good preparation. It makes a real difference.
Time management techniques help you feel in control, less overwhelmed.
And leveraging spaced repetition for better memory. That seems like a powerful tool.
Definitely. And finally, acknowledging burnout when it happens and allowing for rest. That's crucial for sustainability.
And the great thing is, these strategies come from lots of different expert sources.
Yeah.
It's a pretty comprehensive toolkit we've explored.
Which leads to the final thought, really, for you listening.
Yeah, think about this. How might consciously picking just one or two of these strategies, maybe time blocking, maybe positive self-talk, maybe scheduled breaks, and really integrating them into your routine? How might that shift things for you?
Could it move your learning experience from feeling constantly overwhelming to feeling more empowered, more sustainable?
It's worth reflecting on which tips really hit home for you right now, and maybe checking out some of those sources we mentioned for a deeper look.